RareGem Productions proudly presents Entrepreneurially Thinking. Entrepreneurially Thinking is a presentation of BioSTL and CET, the Center for Emerging Technologies, changing the way you view new ventures and activating your entrepreneurial mindset, empowering you to create new pathways for business success in the St. Louis marketplace and beyond. Here's your hosts, Cheryl and Christy. Now let's get thinking entrepreneurially.
Welcome back to the Entrepreneurially Thinking Podcast. I'm Christy Maxfield.
And I'm Dr. Cheryl Watkins-Moore. I lead our STEM Inclusion Initiative for BioSTL. Hey, girl, we're back.
We are back. We're just flying through episodes at this point. As you guys know, we record a few at a time, and then we have a little in the queue, so to speak.
And we learn a lot from all of our interviews. I'm just excited by this season. It's been really
we've got
cool
lots of great people doing lots of different things here in the Lou.
In the Lou.
And even on different sides of the river. The
right?
Pond. You know, we're expanding. We just did an interview with a Belleville-based entrepreneur. We've got one coming up in a few weeks with one of our friends out of KC. So trying to expand our footprint. So share with us the stories you'd like to hear, whether they're from St. Louis or not. Our goal is to elevate and celebrate the stories of entrepreneurs of color and women, and to get their stories out and inspire more people to do this whole entrepreneur thing, or at least think entrepreneurially.
Yes.
So we also have to thank our founding sponsor, CET and BioSTL, for making it possible for us to continue to tell these stories. So follow and use the hashtags ETHINKSTL, eThink Podcast, stay listening. Help us find your friends and help them find us on iTunes, Spreaker, Facebook, LinkedIn, and wherever you find your favorite podcast.
We want to find your friends.
Yes. And make them ours.
And make them our friends. Absolutely.
I'm just saying. It's a virtuous circle. We have a friend here today.
Yes. So I don't know how much you guys know. Missouri S&T, a great university here, stands for Science and Technology, best known for its engineering program. What many listeners might not know is that their programs run all different types of fields of study. But it is also an incubator for new business ideas and the talent to take them to the market. Today's guest is a friend, colleague, Quentin Ortega. He's an S&T grad whose entrepreneurial journey started at this venerable institution and put him on a path of serial entrepreneurship and a prominent role as a mentor and advisor in the St. Louis entrepreneurship ecosystem. So say that 10 times fast.
That's lots of E's.
Yes. So among his roles, he is an IT track leader for CET's Square One Bootcamp program. Yay. He is an entrepreneur in residence at ITEN, another great institution and organization. And he is executive VP of business development at Great Data Lake. How in the hell does he do all of this? Well, you're going to learn about it because we're going to learn what all of that entails and what advice Quentin has for aspiring entrepreneurs when we come back. So stay listening.
BioSTL is a proud founding sponsor of the Entrepreneurially Thinking Podcast. We want you to know about all the great things they are up to, including the BioSTL STEM Entrepreneur Inclusion Initiative, which strengthens the region's bioscience ecosystem by identifying high-potential, talented women and minority STEM entrepreneurs and providing a systematic pathway for them to create viable, high-growth ventures. You can learn more about all of BioSTL's programs by visiting biostl.org. And for your renewed and continuing support, BioSTL, we say thank you.
Purpose First Advisors is proud to support the Entrepreneurially Thinking Podcast. Purpose First works with entrepreneurs and the organizations that support them to accelerate business formation, scaling, and transformational growth. For more information about how to work with Purpose First Advisors on business model validation, financial modeling, core messaging, or other growth and profitability strategies, visit purposefirstadvisors.com.
Hi, this is Quentin Ortega. I'm a serial entrepreneur, and entrepreneurially thinking means to me, keep going, keep following your passion, and keep trying. Those people that are entrepreneurs who are successful just don't give up and continue to have the drive and passion behind their idea, even when they hear no, and find a way to make...
Quentin Ortega, president of QCO.
Of the world.
of the world, and in his spare time, QCO consulting.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had to make sure we mentioned that he was an S&T grad because my husband is a grad as well. And Quentin is a native of rural Southwest Missouri and has built his career on helping to form, grow, and scale enterprises with expertise in negotiation, process improvement, strategic business development.
Wow.
So Quentin, thanks for being here today.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for having me. For sure.
I know. So he was like, what are we going to talk about? And I'm like, I don't know, all the crap you do.
I never thought anyone would actually read all of my LinkedIn like you did. That's really impressive.
Hey,
you actually went through the whole...
I've written your bio before. Not well.
Yeah, it's true.
But I've been like, I think I see the through line.
Not the first time you've introduced me, so we got a little bit of experience here.
Can you tell these two know each other really, really well? Okay.
So, one of the things Cheryl loves to do is know where folks are from.
Yeah,
and that's why, start with the Southwest Missouri and then the Missouri S&T, and you just started going east after that.
Go all the way up. I just came northeast my entire life so far.
Yeah.
It got pretty cold here, so I stopped. That was kind of I felt like I was like,
I'm
no
done.
more winter.
You
this
didn't
is
want to go
far
to Nova
enough.
Scotia?
This is it. No,
that was it.
this was
Not
it.
Right?
This was it for now. I grew up in southwestern Missouri, a very small town, at a really great small school, Gainesville, Missouri, and actually started some businesses while I was there in high school. That was
I had no idea about the high school.
In
high school, yeah, we did.
Were you doing the candy thing? Because that's a big high school thing.
I didn't do too much of the candy thing, but what actually happened was that one of my business teachers in high school had found this grant from the state where, if you started a business as students, the state would help fund part of it, right? So we wrote this grant and we applied to it, and I actually started.
I have never heard of that grant. I need to be living in Gainesville.
This was so long ago. I think anywhere in Missouri could have done it. I don't know if it still exists.
Wow.
But we started a DJing company, right?
So you were mixing the tunes?
I was mixing the tunes.
You were scratching the vinyl?
Not the vinyl. We're
I was going to say, he's not that
I appreciate, I listen to vinyl now, but that's what's in trend, right? So,
God, like the kids.
He is
like the
kids.
Right.
But yeah, so started that and was just, DJing all the local school dances in the area. And
did you have much competition?
No, it was a very open market. That's a blue ocean, as they say. There was no...
He edged out the incumbent DJ.
I edged out somebody's dad with a stereo, right?
This is my town.
Yeah, it was
I'm the DJ
it
here.
wasn't too bad. But it turned into quite a thing, and then when I left, it kept going. So it was a business that stayed with the school, and kind of taught people how to run some of those aspects of starting your own business, which was cool. And then went to school in Rolla, so moved up northeast a little bit farther, and before too long ran into some people there they were also kind of starting some tech businesses, and they said, do you want to get involved? And I said yes, and
so
it's
you
been
were
a
at
journey ever
S&T
since.
doing an engineering no?
I was actually doing business.
Really?
Common question.
Yes.
Which is like shock and awe.
Yeah. Everybody's like, well, what kind of engineer are you? And I'm like, no, I went for business. And then they're like, oh, well, what kind of engineer do you want to be? And I'm like, no, that's also not it at all. That's not, but good question, It depends on how long they want to talk about it. Sometimes I just say, well, I'm a business engineer, and I'll leave it at that. But most of the time, I tell them what I actually went there for, which is that I looked at several schools at the time. I knew I wanted to be doing business since I was like 5 years old. That was always kind of the plan, starting businesses. And so I looked at the business programs at various schools, and at the time, this was, early on in technology becoming a part of business. Rolla was the only school teaching everything with software and technology programs, ERP systems, management information systems. Everybody else was still doing accounting with like a ledger, right? Like literally your accounting class was, write it down. And I was like,
we've heard of this Excel thing and we think it's a fad.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Excel,
as we know, Excel was a fad.
So wait a minute, you said you always wanted to be in business at 5 years old. Did you come from a family that had businesses?
Not really, no. I mean, both my parents just kind of worked in various industries, but they were always like extremely supportive and encouraging, right? So I think, I don't know, I just always dreamed of the,
you were a little Warren Buffett or Thurston Howell the Third, right?
Well, for my true story, for my 5th birthday, I think I asked for a briefcase, which I got.
Oh my God.
And so Christy,
that picture. I so want, because that's an Instagram teaser as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that's for
little
later.
Quentin.
That's for later.
With like the briefcase that's bigger than he is.
I had colored papers that I would keep in it, right? And they were all sorted by color, and I would stack them in it and close it.
You and my child at 5 years old, he was another one that
that's
going to
cute.
preschool, I could get him to wear like regular clothes like a kid wears. He goes to preschool in suits and boots. In St. Louis summer, okay? And I was like, you know what? You pick your fights. But they used to call him Thurston Howell the Third. So you're the Thurston Howell the Third
of Gainesville.
But I worry. I think that since then I dress up less. See, now I'm wearing like jeans and a button up all the time, right? And so watch out, because I think if you start casual, you get more formal. If you start formal, you get more casual.
We'll be wearing a bathing suit in December from soon. Oh my God. So, that's really cool. So you're at S&T, you're doing the business thing at S&T and found some of those like-minded folks. Did the entertainment piece keep going through this experience as well?
One of those other ventures.
I know that you've touched the entertainment world. I don't think I've ever really understood like sort of that trajectory, but it started back in DJ. Clearly, it started way back.
DJing.
Yeah.
DJ, what is it? DJ Jazzy Mick or whatever the heck.
Oh, girl.
Yeah, it was. So I started in music, like I said, in my hometown there. I was lucky enough that my very small hometown was actually also the hometown of Roy Clark's sound guy. And he had all of his equipment there once Roy Clark retired from touring, who sadly just passed away not long ago. And I was an interested young kid willing to learn how to run sound, and he taught me a lot of stuff. And so then, I got up to Rolla and wanted to stay involved in kind of the music scene. And so I joined Student Union Board in Rolla, which is the activities planning board there. And they did one or two large concerts a year. And so I got involved doing that and continuing on in the concerts world. And so that was happening at the same time that I was starting some tech companies with some people.
Wow.
And then I spent, while trying to get some startups off the ground, I spent about 2.5 years as an entertainment agent booking entertainment around the country as well.
So when the hell were you going to school?
Well, I don't know. I think I just between everything else, I'm not actually sure. Yeah. No,
that's amazing. Wow.
So I think it was a great opportunity to do all those different things and figure out, kind of the path forward.
Yeah.
I love the entertainment industry. I still do. I love the sound and music industry. But it was kind of at one point I did have to finally kind of decide what I was going to do a little bit, because all of them were taking up a lot of time and the tech company I was starting at the time was starting to go pretty well. And so it was like, all right, well, I'm going to start focusing on this. And unfortunately, there's not as much money as you'd like in the entertainment industry. So focus on tech and here we are, right?
Okay.
Several years later, basically.
That's amazing.
So what does it mean to start a tech company? Because we do work together on the Square One program, right? And sometimes we see everything from what we would call Internet of Things, IoT-based kind of companies. Sometimes we just see folks who say, I want to do an app, right?
Everybody wants to do an app, right?
Which does not a company make.
Oh, boy.
Right?
Don't get me started on app companies.
So what does it mean to start a tech company?
I think that that tech has become a very generic term. And that's okay, right? I think that's fine, because you can start a tech company and it can almost be anything if it involves technology, right? By most people's standards
that's
today.
Honestly where a lot of folks have gone, right? To the tech-enabled company, to the tech intersecting with lots of industries. Was it like that when you were starting your tech company, or was this truly like
a little bit? Yeah, so the first company, we were talking a little bit before we started recording here, and the first company that I did, we actually just did anything that someone would pay us for, right? That was the thing.
So you did websites and you did apps and you did anything that came your way. I
was at Rolla. We had a bunch of engineering talent, and everybody was like, let's just do stuff. So we designed products. We had people working on nuclear power plants in New York State, and we had people designing engines, which you can do, right? And so we did a little bit of everything. And then I think it was around 2008 or so. That's when Steve Jobs announced a little product called the iPhone. You guys may or may not have heard of it.
Yes, I'm vaguely familiar with it.
It's been short-lived. he announced that, and just like a lot of other people, we said, well, let's make an app. Right. And so
there's an app for that.
There's an app for that. And so we started creating apps and had some success. We were top 5, I think, in the App Store App Store for a while with our app, which don't check out now. It's terrible. So I won't even tell you the name of it.
Okay, I promise not to look.
And it's and so, but we realized that all the money we were making was from actually advertising in that app, and so we actually kind of refocused our company, pivoted, as you will, and started to focus on ad tech and spent about the next 6 years building some really advanced ad tech. So, and that's what brought me to St. Louis, actually. So once that kind of got off the ground, that and Arch Grants, hats off to those guys. Yeah. We decided we'd outgrown Rolla, and we were looking towards moving to one of the coasts. Honestly, that was the plan. And we heard about Arch Grants, and we applied, and we came up, and did the interviewing process and the pitch process and everything, and moved to St. Louis, and haven't looked back since. Wow. So it's been great.
That is phenomenal. So what was a company that you brought up that you pitched to Arch Grant? Is it still working?
It is still functional. It's still existing, not in its glory, but it's still existing. Yeah, it's called Lumate. And we were part of the inaugural Arch Grants class in 2012. Yes. So
amazing. Yeah. So now that you've done all this, you have started companies, you're now a mentor. You're sitting on the opposite side, right?
Yeah.
Working with companies.
I think that, what happened was that I started looking around and saying, oh, there's a bunch of other people starting these companies. How can I best help them, right? Yeah. How can I help them to learn from some of the hard roads that me and my friends had taken trying to start these companies. And that's actually, I actually spent about a year talking to all the organizations around town here in St. Louis. And that's how I found Christy and the Square One program and ITEN and all those other organizations, and kind of dove in to hopefully start giving back and mentoring some people.
That's great. So what do you see? I mean, when you've been mentoring, I'm sure it's many different types of companies in the IT space. What are some of the common challenges that you see with some of these new founders?
So many. No. Common challenges.
Let's say top 3.
No, I think that some of the high level stuff that I always tell people, right, is just be sure no matter what you're doing, and this applies to non-tech companies too, right, is just be sure that you're talking to who's going to buy your product.
Oh my God. How many times have we
say it a lot because it's worth repeating.
Right? Yeah. This is not new news by any
Sometimes we cuddle before a boot camp starts and we're like, so there's we go back to the basics, right? Yep. Yeah. They need the basics. Right. Yeah. Because, and part of the we'll talk about, the class that we've got, and we'll be like, yeah, I'm a little worried about this. I'm a little worried about that. And we're like, that's why they're here. They're here for the process to help them understand whether or not they can do this. And if we're successful as mentors, then we will guide them through a process that if they're coachable, should reveal
coachability.
Yes, coachability is huge. If they're coachable, this should reveal to them without us saying anything, where the concerns are. And some of them will be able to overcome those concerns, and some of them won't.
Right. Yeah. Right.
But we're, as they say, we're leading the horse to water. Right.
Yes, can't drown. You
hope they drink.
Can't drown.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wow.
But so in that process, you are seeing, like you said, a lot of similar themes in different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that people also often get caught up. So, to kind of go back, another thing that I tell a lot of people is they get caught up on trying to make it perfect, right? Again, common one out there. Put something out before making it the perfect one, because you're probably going to throw away version 1 before you're actually on the market anyway, right?
And the speed at which things change anyway, while you're trying to make it perfect, the market's past you already,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Or somebody else is doing it or something like that, right? And so just get something out that people can see and feel, because I think that also kind of validates that you're a doer, right? Instead of, because there's a lot of people that talk, but you got to look for those people that are actually taking action and creating the products that they're talking about at the same time.
Trying to find as much information as possible before you make the move. Analysis paralysis.
Analysis paralysis, for sure. Again, classic
so
stuff.
When we come back, hey, we've got a lot of things to follow up with you on. I'm really interested in hearing some stories of how you have impacted many of the folks here in our market, and how people that you see are changing the landscape here.
CET, the Center for Emerging Technologies, is a proud founding sponsor of this Entrepreneurially Thinking podcast. We want you to know all about the great things they are up to. Square One is CET's flagship program for entrepreneurs. It's a hands-on training program designed to provide support to first-time entrepreneurs in the St. Louis region actively engaged in the development of bioscience, information technology, or advanced manufacturing commercial enterprise. To learn more about Square One Bootcamp or Square One Ignite, visit CETSTL.com. And for your renewed and continuing support, CET, we say thank you.
Laura Trombin, owner of Tattoo the Lou, the St. Louis Classic Tattoo Expo, and talent acquisition at 1904 Labs. And what entrepreneurial thinking means to me is throwing care to the wind, taking chances, and taking your strengths and throwing them into something that you love.
So during our break, we've continued to have a lot of fun together, and
this
talk
is
about
like Comedy Central,
well,
guys.
honestly, and talk about some of our greatest hits, right? And our greatest hits are really the things we always have to say to folks, always have to remind people of, even halfway through the program when we know we've said this to them before, right? And the things that every new entrepreneur, like we've planted our flag in the new entrepreneur space to a large degree.
Yeah.
I mean, both you and I, and Cheryl started companies. She usually refers people to us. They're like, Cheryl said to go talk to you. And I'm like, oh, great.
I think Cheryl's going to start hiding behind the couch here in a second. She's worried about getting caught in the middle of this.
She is. But, you know, we've both worked with mature companies and done that. But we also have a really firm foot in the new company, new founder, entrepreneur development place,
which means
we hear a lot of the same things.
We do
each year,
Yeah.
On a kind of rolling basis, and we say a lot of the same things over and over and over again because they don't change.
Same issues.
You know, it's the basics.
Because people need to hear them.
Because they need to hear them.
That's fine. Yeah.
So one of those other perennials was technical founders. So the interesting thing for you, went to an engineering school, wasn't an engineer, studied business, started a tech company. We get lots of folks who are what we would call technical founders, right? They know how to code. They know how to build the thing.
Right.
What are the special circumstances for those folks?
What are the special circumstances?
Well, what I always say is these are the folks who, because they can code it, do code it.
Right.
And and they haven't gone out and talked to anybody, right? And you said earlier, one of the things you always have to tell entrepreneurs is go talk to your customer.
Right.
And I feel like the technical founder has the greatest liability in some ways because I don't need to go talk to anybody. I know how to write the code. I can make it happen. I know what it's supposed to do. I know what they need. So are you often talking folks off of that ledge, or are there different ledges to talk them off of?
I think that's definitely a ledge that's there that we're spending some time talking about, right? And that does play into what I said about needing to go talk to your customer and have those conversations. I think that I encounter people on both sides of this fence, right? I encounter people that have extreme technical capability and people that have no technical capability, and both of them are starting these tech companies along with Cheryl's raising her hand.
Cheryl has actually started a tech company as a non-technical founder.
Yeah. And I think that, the trick is that you have to learn enough of what the other is to be sufficient, right? You might not ever be the expert at coding, and I'm not, right? I'm not the technical founder. I'm the business guy every time. And but I can read code, right? I can figure out what's going on, and I can push my way through if I have to. And I think that's what a lot of being an entrepreneur in the tech space is, right? Is like you're not going to be the best at everything that you need to get done. Some of it you're not going to want to do, but you got to make yourself do. And spend some time learning about the pieces that you don't understand.
Right.
For the technical founders, that's learning about how to go talk to people.
Right.
That's learning.
That's a huge endeavor for many people because they are behind the computer, not used to interfacing with real people.
Yeah. And I think that it can be hard for both sides, right? And so if you can't do it yourself, right? If you're not going to learn it, or if you don't want to, or just can't bring yourself to do it, then you do have to start searching for those co-founders, right? And And I have that conversation all the time, right?
Yes.
Because everybody would rather find the co-founder and not have to learn it themselves.
Right.
And there's no store.
Yeah.
I've got no closet full of co-founders.
I wish. Everybody asks me, where can I find them?
I know, they ask me too, and I'm like, I don't have dial a co-founder.
I don't know. I wish. We should just do, there's our next idea.
Saying, I mean, if I could somehow
That's how you all guys can work together. Remember you were talking about how can we work together?
I mean, Quentin are exploring ways to work together. It's a baby steps.
We're easing into
baby
it.
steps. Don't want to go to market too quick.
Yeah. Swipe right, swipe left.
Trying not to be on the bleeding edge of this.
Right.
There it is. That's that's what we're going after.
I know how to do. I don't even know what I would put in there.
It's got like a rating scale for technical skills.
I can't even bluff it.
And Java. You're just going to the coffee shop.
Yeah, I'm making crap
You're
up.
ordering stuff at the coffee shop.
I've heard those are languages.
From my
peeps.
Oh my god!
All right.
So let's take it back here. Right. So what do you see? You know, you're seeing the landscape of all these IT companies, especially here in St. Louis. It seems like there is a plethora of everybody trying to do tech startup. What do you see out there? Advantages, disadvantages to all of these? What do you think?
Sure. I think that there's definitely a lot going on, right? A lot of new people diving in, which is great. And I'm always happy to see that. And I think that,
let me ask you this.
Yeah.
New people, competent people.
That's a loaded question.
That is a loaded question. Yeah, for sure, both.
Hey, we have new people,
competent
varying
people,
degrees of competency in all of our entrepreneur spheres.
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah,
good answer.
All the time.
Good answer.
But I think that Christy, she's trying to throw me under the
Woo!
bus over here.
We're going to have entrepreneurs with pitchforks at our doors.
No, because I was a non-technical founder of a company. Mm-hmm. So I did not understand code. I had co-founders who knew how to write code. So it was interesting bridging the gap between talking to them about, what we needed to do for our technology and me learning that. So I would call myself, I wasn't competent. I knew how to do business, but it was
you were coachable.
Right.
Coachable.
I knew what I didn't know. Exactly.
Yeah, coachability.
So I guess that's what I mean by, it does boil down to coachability because you have to know what your strengths and weaknesses are, right?
Know what you know and know what you don't know, right? I mean,
know where to step off.
Yeah, that's super important, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that I've even found that, with anybody I've ever partnered with starting businesses, you try to find those people that are very complimentary to you, right? In that they're good at the things that you're either not good at or don't want to do. And that's one of the things that I also tell people, because when people come to me and they say, "Oh, I need a co-founder to help me do stuff," I'm like, "Well, what do you need them to do?" Mm-hmm. And they usually don't know, right? They don't have an exact picture of what they need that co-founder to do. And so I say, well, how about this? Make a list of all of your things to do. And I guarantee that every day the bottom half of that list doesn't get done. Right. So keep that list going for about 2 weeks.
Right.
At the end of that 2 weeks, look at the things that still haven't been done after 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And those things are what the job description of your co-founder is going to do.
That's a really good point.
Because those are the things that need to get done.
Right.
But you're still not doing them.
Yeah.
Right. And that could be because you don't want to, because you don't know how, or because you don't have the time. Who knows? But nonetheless, find those people that are willing to, especially at a very early stage, that are willing to do the bottom half of that list. The people that are excited about the bottom half of that list, I mean, that's your ideal person right there.
That's true.
And we've mentioned coachability a few times. What does that mean to you when you meet somebody? What are you looking for?
I think, I'm just looking for someone who's open to feedback, right? I mean, we talk a lot when we're talking about startups about the idea being someone's baby.
Yep.
And they're worried they're very protective of it, right? They're worried about putting it out into the world. And nobody wants critiques on their baby.
Right.
Can't tell them that the baby's ugly.
Yeah, nobody wants to hear that their baby's ugly, right? And so, with an entrepreneur, I think that you're looking for somebody that is willing to hear your feedback, right? And actually listen to it. I mean, I can't tell you. I was telling somebody the other day, a lot of the times when I meet with people, I'm always willing to meet with people. I take the first meeting, I sit down, and I often, I kind of sit with them for an hour and tell them like, oh, okay, here's what's going on. Here's the path that I think you should take. XYZ, call me again. We can meet again once you get to this point, right?
Right.
99% of people I never hear from again. I don't think it's because they don't like me, but it could be. So you guys tell me,
we'll have an offline conversation.
Do a little survey.
Okay.
But I think it's because, they get caught up in still wanting to focus on what they were already focused on, right? And they need to be willing to listen to other opinions. And I'm not saying I'm always right, because I'm definitely not the one that knows everything here. I tell everyone as well to take anything I tell them with a pinch of salt, just like they would everybody, and go poll a few of these people like myself and Christy and others in the community who are willing to sit down and have these conversations, because you want to kind of get the average probably of all the things that we're saying.
Exactly.
And build that into your plan going forward.
Right.
And for me, I think too, it's when we say, okay, are they open to feedback? If everything your mentor or coach says you have a rebuttal for, that's usually a sign that you're not in the coaching mindset, right?
Because there's some entrepreneurs that, they have that mindset of, I'm just going to push forward no matter what somebody says because somebody told them.
Well,
as
and
an
they have
entrepreneur,
self-confidence, and they need a lot of self-confidence.
But you got to listen.
Yeah.
You got to listen.
Well,
you got to listen at the same time. It's a balance. It's a balance.
It is.
Absolutely. So I just, coachability is one of those things that I think is sometimes hard to define. And for me, it's that, rather than having a rebuttal to everything I say, if you could just say, wow, that's something I hadn't thought about before.
Right.
And I'm going to think about it. Or I hadn't thought about it that way before. Yeah. Even if you have a rebuttal in your head, because I got an answer for everything. I just haven't been asked yet, right? Let's just be honest. But even I can, and knowing that my predisposition is to have an answer and to act, I know that there are times I need to just take some information in and let it marinate
stew for a little while.
Right?
It's the but.
It's the well, and they've got but, and I want and.
Right.
And I need to think about that a little longer and do those things.
Right. Yeah.
So you're also, in addition to working with me on the Square One, you're an entrepreneur in residence at ITEN. What does that mean?
Yes.
Like, do they actually make you live there?
I do live there now. No,
do you have to bring a pillow and an overnight bag?
Yeah, I got to head back to the office after this. Curfew's pretty early. Curfew's pretty early.
I just never understood. I mean, I know what it means, but I always think it's kind of funny. Like,
No, it's great. It's really more mentoring and coaching, right? And me and the other EIRs there at ITEN are very involved in the programming that happens for ITEN. ITEN has a very popular program called Mock Angels, and we're basically the preparers of the people who are about to go through that program, right?
Because you don't get to just come in and be like, I'm ready for Mock Angels.
No, it's you have to apply.
You have to go through the hoops.
Yeah, there's lots of hoops. You have to apply, and then you get paired with an EIR, one of us, and then we work with you.
Thumb up, thumbs down.
And then we work with you to get them ready for the actual presentation.
That program is excellent. My company was an I-10 company.
Oh, great!
And it is you commit, because I committed once a week meeting with my EIR, which sometimes I would meet with them and go, okay, no, I didn't do it this week.
Right.
I know I need to do it. I'm going to do it now.
That's never what I want to hear. I'm always like, all right, well, what are we doing?
Exactly. But it's an excellent program.
Yeah. So it's been good. I think it's really more having just that formalized, I often say accountability buddy, right? I'm the guy that's going to check in and be like, hey, that presentation's coming up. Did you make it yet?
Yeah. Are the slides done? Do you want to run it by me?
Do you want to run it by me? Yeah. Don't come in the day before.
We need to cancel?
So I try to avoid that being the question.
Pull the plug, man.
But admittedly, that is the question sometimes. Yeah. You've been there, so you clearly know that question gets asked. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So what are you talked about EIR, which is, I think, really, really great. What are you doing? Because not only are you're mentoring, but are you looking at doing another company, or what's on your horizon?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I'm doing a little bit of everything all the time. That's ask Christy or anybody that knows me, and it could change day to day. And I've decided that, for me, I think that's the best path, right? I think that I'm the most valuable when I'm involved with a bunch of different people and a bunch of different organizations, and really trying to offer the best of myself to each one. And so that's what I try to do now, right? So it's a mix of this mentoring, some side consulting projects, and some, you guys mentioned Gray Data Lake, some data brokering, right? And so that comes from my days of ad tech and really understanding kind of how all the data pieces are working together. So I think that, I'm more effective when I'm spread out. It's been an interesting career path to find people that agree with that, because everybody kind of wants you to be.
I totally agree. Yeah. It's like, hey, trust me, I'm better when I'm spread thin.
Yeah, I promise. So that's a path that I wouldn't necessarily recommend to everyone.
It's not.
Not for everybody, but I think it's best for me. And
it's a serial entrepreneur, like you described yourself. You are a serial entrepreneur looking for that next that's what your passion is, right? Helping people and looking for new opportunities.
That's right. Yeah. You never know what's on the horizon, right?
I love that. Yeah.
And, from the mentee perspective, I think you want folks like us because we're living it day to day. Like, we're not just telling you something we read in a textbook. And,
that's right. Yeah.
I've bought the textbook.
I barely have
taught
time
the
to
class,
read.
Right?
Right.
I've coached him on teaching the class, right? But
it's true.
But they, it's very different than reading about something in the book. Just like reading about doing business or learning about doing business and in grad school is different than going out and actually working for the company and having to do it. And when I just find that when I'm in the learner seat, somebody who can actually say to me, I walked that walk. And let me tell you, it went off script really quick. So don't lean on this and this,
walk,
right?
More of the stumble through than the walk.
And then I refer the books when I'm like, okay, if you don't believe what I'm saying, here's 5 other people you can listen to.
Right.
And they have nothing in all they want you to do is buy their book. Right. Right. Yeah. So, and, you don't even have to do that to read it today. Right. Right. So
that's right.
I kind of lean on those other experts, so to speak, to be like, you don't have to take my word for it.
Yeah.
Go talk to my colleagues, and then if you don't like what we say, go talk to the other experts. I actually had somebody once be like, that conversation we had the other day, I listened to a podcast the next day. They said the same thing.
Did they realize it was you on the podcast?
Well, he didn't. He didn't. There was that. Luckily, though, it was actually a different podcast because I could say, you know what? They're smart. They're smart. I agree with them.
Really
I think
know.
that's a good idea. Yeah. But, it's like sometimes don't just take my word for it. Take that pinch of salt and go get 5 other reference points.
Or you can learn the hard way.
Or learn the hard way.
It might take you a year or so to get back on track. I'm trying to save you time so you don't have to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I think we could all say we've made mistakes that you don't need to make. Right? You can make whole new mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
But talk to us about the ones we made so you don't have to do those.
And you know what? A lot of people think that, failure is part of the process.
Absolutely.
So,
some of my most successful mentoring, I think, was pivots and failures,
absolutely.
right? Like helping people realize that the path they were pouring their life savings into wasn't for them, right? Or wasn't the right thing to do.
Right.
I consider that a hugely valuable thing
absolutely.
To deliver to those people.
And if you have somebody saying the wall is coming, you're about to bump into this wall. Okay.
And then we'll pick you up and we'll say, now it's time to go get a Band-Aid.
Right.
right.
And next time you might want to listen to me.
Right.
Yeah,
no,
absolutely.
Never I told you so.
Right.
No.
Always, explore what you need to explore, learn what you need to learn.
And let's do it again.
Yeah.
Know that all I have is your best interest at heart.
Right. Absolutely.
Totally.
Right.
Try to help.
And having fun, which clearly we have had.
Absolutely.
If you don't have fun in the process, you need to go back and do another job.
That's right.
This is the most fun I've ever had, and I've learned a tremendous amount while doing this. So
we beat podiatry.
Oh, I think we beat podiatry. We beat corporate world. We beat all of that.
Oh, I'm so psyched.
All of that. I love it. I love what I do. Like you said,
great.
It gets me up in the morning, and the next challenge is what the hell's what's behind here that I got to look at. So you guys are seeing it out here. I love the fact that, you're in the trenches. You're seeing our emerging entrepreneurs. I know it's fun to work with those who have some established businesses, but these guys that are coming into the trenches, they clearly, some of them have no clue of what it takes.
And we are here to help.
Yes.
And all we have is your best interest at heart.
Yes.
Yep. That's right. That's right. Just trying to help for sure.
So thank you guys, both of you.
Oh, our pleasure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, actually, Q, thank you for making time to be with us.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys having me on.
So if people want to keep track of you, they can find you clearly at CET Square One Boot Camp in the fall.
Which I've heard you can just show up at. That's what Christy told me. No.
There's a slight process, but if you do show up, we'll make sure that you get back into the mode.
And bring your checkbook.
Yeah, you can just show up.
Yeah.
We'll accommodate you, no problem.
Yeah.
So definitely doing CET stuff. EIR at ITEN. Definitely encourage
anybody. So if you go to ITEN.
Yeah, ITENSTL.org, I believe.
I think that is.
And we should know that. But,
we should know that. We just know where they are. We just show up there.
We just show up.
Just go to T-Rex and show up.
That's right. To be successful, just show up.
Just
That's
show
the thing. find me there. You can also, shoot me an email. Honestly, send me an email.
Find them on LinkedIn.
Any of those ways. More than welcome to reach out. I'm always excited to talk to new people, hear about new businesses in health tech, regular tech, apps, ad tech,
media tech,
you name it.
Tech.
Okay. Whatever it is. I'm always excited to sit down and try to help people through their projects and their passions.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Changing the way you view new ventures, unlocking your creativity and innovation, igniting your thinking about entrepreneurship. It's Entrepreneurially Thinking. Get connected and discover more. Visit entrepreneuriallythinking.com to listen to all your favorite episodes and learn more about our guests, hosts, and sponsors. Feeling inspired? Be sure to share your thoughts, questions, and stories in the comments section. And don't forget to leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. The best way to show love is to share and subscribe. Let everybody know that you're entrepreneurially thinking.